you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
Do you feel it?
Yes, we do.
A worldwide awakening is upon us. Welcome to the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Where we explore topics such as UFOs, aliens, banned medical cures, as well as classified secret knowledge. Come question your holographic existence. Share experiences from the other side. This is a show that will expand your mind as we decrypt the symbolic messages locked away deep within your DNA. And now, your guides for this magical journey. The hosts of the Universal Consciousness Show, Avi Nost and Diana Seraphim.
Yes, hello, everybody. Boy, we haven't talked to you for a long time, not since last year anyway. Welcome to the year of 2020. Now, you are listening to the show for the Thinking Global Citizen. My name is Agi and I'm one of the hosts, and my co-host Diana is over in Germany. And you are there, Diana?
I'm here. Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. And it's gonna be a good one. Boys, it's gonna be a good one. Now, before I introduce the guest, I want to tell you how you can connect with us. You can visit us at our own website at universal-consciousness-show.com or YouTube, Twitter, and some of the other places that we place it. And of course, there is a when you get to YouTube, there is a subscribe button there. It really will help us a lot if you subscribe, and when you click that subscribe button, the bell comes up. Click on the bell also, because that way you will get notifications when the new shows come out. And for those of you that like to hear this again, you'll find us of course at the Universal Consciousness Show on YouTube, and also on many other different places that we place it. And of course at KCOR Radio website, and that is kcorradio.com, and we will be there under the Universal Consciousness Show. And we are on Twitter, iTunes, TuneIn, Alexa, Twitter, Facebook, and a few other places where it shows up eventually. And if you are listening to the KCOR Radio website right now, then there's this wonderful little feature there. Down at the bottom of the page, there is a donate button. So if you like what you hear, we would love it if you are able to support us in that way also. It tells us that we are doing the right thing and we are appreciated. So, but if you can't, that is perfectly all right. We love you anyway. We'd love to hear and see that you are there listening to us. Because if you weren't, gosh, it would be just me and Diana sitting here talking to ourselves, and that wouldn't be all that much fun, would it? And we do have a global audience, and in fact, I know I have people in Hong Kong listening. There is several people in Moscow, Russia. I get notes from them every so often. And also one of my favorite people over in Norway, a guy that I grew up with, Stig Håpnes. And I just communicated with him, and he is listening tonight. So this is going to be good. All right. We have Lorelei Potwin. She is returning to the Universal Consciousness Show, and she is one of my favorite people. She's one of those people who wears a lot of hats. One of them looks like a hat that a radio talk show host might be using. In fact, she has several of those hats because she does several shows. And she has hats for other things. She is a crystal Reiki master, a spiritual teacher, a psychic medium, energy healer, Akashic record practitioner. That's a new one, practitioner. Oh, we're gonna hear about this. This is gonna be good. And she's also a registered nurse. And she's all over the internet, on YouTube and other platforms, with her radio shows and her interviews. Hey, I even was interviewed on one of her shows a while back. We probably should do that again, maybe. And today we are going to step out of the box, trample all over it, and throw it in the trash can. Because we are going to talk about the strange, the bizarre, the unusual, the things we see out of the corner of our eye. But when we look over there, it is gone. And the things we see that should not be there. The real world, with other words. Welcome to the show, Lorelei.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Augie and Diana. I want to wish all your listeners Happy New Year, and I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
Well,
Hello, Lorelei, and thank you so much for being with us again. So let's start like always. So I don't like to waste time.
okay.
Can you tell us for the beginning, what was the turning point in your life that brought you on this wonderful path?
Well, I sure can. How I usually tell this story is I started out with, what do tattoos and angel cards have to do with each other? And it's actually nothing, but it was the impetus for this journey. I had hurt my back as a community visiting nurse. I had a patient cover a hole in their front steps with a rug, and I fell through and shattered all my discs. And that happened quite a few years ago. But what had happened was I decided probably about 15 years ago I wanted to get a tattoo. And I walked into a local place. I live in Canada. I live in a city called Thunder Bay, northwestern Ontario. It's right on the shores of Lake Superior. It's about 35 minutes away from the Minnesota border. And what happened when I walked in, I had my 2 children with me. I have 2 sons, and my youngest has severe autism. But what she had said to me was, you have 2 very, very special children. And I had said to her, well, all children are special. She said, no, there's something very unique about your children. Would you mind if I tried a few things with them? And I said, well, as long as you're not going to hurt them. And I didn't know what she was doing. And she used a bunch of strange crystals and hand movements at the time. And then she looked up at me and she said, what do you do? And I said, well, what do you mean? What do I do? And I mentioned again that, I am a nurse, as I just shared the story that had happened. And she said, is there anything you're interested in? And I said, well, I've always loved angels. I've always loved unicorns and things like that. And she said, hang on a minute. And she ran in the back and she came back with a box in her hand. And she said, take this home. And I said, well, what do I do with it? And she said, you'll know. And I said, well, when do you need it back? She said, you'll know. And what she had handed me was my first deck of angel cards. And that's what started this whole journey. But to add very quickly, with the practices of meditation and sort of reflecting on my life, this has been around me my whole life. This actually runs on my father's side. His mother was quite psychic. And as I understand it, I have a few relatives as well that have these gifts. So that's how it started.
Wow. This is a very special way. I never heard until now such a funny but interesting story.
Well, thank you.
To start to a spiritual path. And for all the for everything that you are doing, the most interesting that I find is this Akashic records, because this is something that not everybody can do, and it's a very, very special stuff. So do you feel like you want to start with this to explain to the listener first what is Akasha? Because not everybody, we hear everywhere Akasha, but not everybody knows what Akasha is. And how do one have access to the Akashic records?
Sure. what happens, the reason why I consider myself a lifelong learner. So I'm worked with many different teachers, mentors. I have one of those minds that always has to keep busy and active, and I have such a thirst for knowledge. But I also have a real connection with spirit. I very, very clairaudient, which means you can hear spirit. I'm not hearing voices. It's very difficult to explain. It's almost within the mind's eye, if you will. To hear that, I can ask a question and receive some guidance. I know the difference whether it's coming, say, from my guides or an angel or, an ascended master. But I constantly been hearing that you need to find out more about the Akashic records. And what the Akashic records are is you when we're dealing, say, with our guides or, our guardian angels or what, we're dealing with the etheric realm. But there are higher levels, higher dimensions, and there is something known as the Akashic Hall of Records. People sometimes picture it as a library or there's different rooms, but to tell you the truth, it is like going into an infinite eternity, an eternal universe. And what it is every single thing in this universe has a record. It could be something physical, human being. It could be, I'm learning right now even how to access the records of, say, a building, if you will. And what it means is anything that ever was, ever is, or ever will be is recorded in the records. So what we do, the way I've been taught, is I do readings for people, is I take them through a little bit of a journey. We connect through something called the heart space, which isn't quite the heart chakra, but it's the seat of the soul, if you will. And we go in and we ask questions of the masters, teachers, and loved ones. They come through as a collective. You can access individual ascended masters, like there could be Buddha, could be Jesus, could be angels. Archangel Metatron is the main archangel that is responsible for the Akashic records. And we go in and they're able to give us guidance as a collective. So whatever it may be going on in somebody's life, you can go in, you can ask for advice. But the one thing that happens, I find when and the reason why I call myself a practitioner, it's just the certificate that I received with the wonderful spiritual teacher that I have. And when we go in there, the masters, teachers, and loved ones will only answer what you asked, as well as whatever you're ready to receive in the way of information. So they're not there to give you bad news. They're not there. It's all delivered with, a loving hand, if you will. And they're able to give you some guidance on whatever may be going on in your life. So, if you've got a decision you need to make, if you're not sure, should I be, I meet a lot of people at the crossroads. Should I take the left path or the right path? And how we even ascertain even further is we ask further questions and go deeper and deeper till we get the answers that we need. I hope that's clear enough.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and what we're seeing too, once we start looking at these Akashic records, is it's somewhat similar to what we have here. Every level of existence has its library. We have it too. They're called libraries.
That's right.
And the fifth dimension has its own record. That is part of the Akashic record, the sixth and seventh and all the way up. There is a record of everything that has gone on in it. And through meditation, we may be able to set the mind in a frame where it is able to see some of this. So this is something that it's not that hard to tap into it, but it takes maybe a little persistence, a little practice. And you've done that. And that impresses me because not too many people are doing it.
Well, I kept getting the call for it. And the one thing that I'm feeling led to share with your listeners is, as a spiritual teacher and mentor, when I have people that I'm working with, the first thing people are noticing that, they're highly intuitive, their sixth senses are coming forward. The biggest thing I get as a question is, what are my guides' names and when am I going to hear them? Now, the biggest aha, and of course, I've gone through that myself with the learning process, as most people I find do. But the way I like to describe it, and it's been shared with me by Spirit, is that, when you're sitting there and you've got a really major problem, and whether maybe it's before bed, you're laying awake staring at the ceiling, or you've got some quiet time, it's just you and your thoughts, and you're thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to solve this? And then in your own voice, a stroke of genius comes through. And you know it's meant for your highest good. You know that this is the answer. This is what this is. This is what I teach, that all of us have guides, all of us have angels, all of us have a whole team behind us. We're never alone. Even when somebody feels alone, you're never alone. You were never sent here alone. And that's usually your guides or your angels coming through. They're not meant to shock you or scare you. I've met very few people that have heard this big booming voice that came from nowhere that they didn't know what it was. They want you to be able to use that guidance, that, because we're meant to be here, to be abundant, to be in love, to be in joy. And when we're not, and like I say, we get these answers, and then you find out how everything just sort of falls into place in the strangest of ways. That's another way that Spirit works. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
But when are we ready to hear our spiritual guides?
I guess for what I have found with my own personal experience, and again, others I've worked with and mentored, that a lot of us are hearing it. But a lot of people like to say, that was just my imagination, that was coincidence, or we choose to disregard it. And we have that right. We have free will, right? So we have the right to disregard it. But the one thing that I do always suggest to people, and this is available to everybody, because I do believe all of us have a lot more potential than we've ever been led to believe, including a sixth sense, including intuition, is that if we're able to, because of the free will, we have to give permission. So you don't have to even speak it out loud. We can connect, again, like I say, in the mind's eye, if you will, or within your mind. But we need to ask for that help. We need to give permission that we want to work more closely with our guides or our angels, our team, whatever you want to call it. And then that's when I think people are ready to hear it. Otherwise, as I understand it, the other side respects our free will and does not intervene. Unless the only time I've ever heard of it is, say, something happened in the way of an accident and it wasn't your time to go or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we have also a couple of questions here in the chat. Echo says that I have a personal question for the very well-known guest. I need 3 necklaces made with her own 2 gifted hands. They need crystal stones with healing of the heart for PTSD. Mm-hmm. Maybe you can tell people where they can get a hold of you here before the break, and then we'll do it again afterwards.
Absolutely. And thank you, Echo, for asking that, because I've kind of put that on the back burner. That's actually coming in 2020. I do make jewelry, and I make jewelry with crystals, and I attune it with crystal Reiki as well as these kind of energies. So where you can get a hold of me, the easiest place is on Facebook. It's facebook.com/The Angel Rock. I also have 2 groups on Facebook. They are Paranormal University as well as the Angel Rocker Tribe. And they both deal with different aspects of the paranormal. And the Angel Rocker Tribe is more about working with spirituality, with your chakras, meditation, things like that. So thank you for asking. I'd love to work with you.
Okay, and then we have another question, and that is from Shady D. I am not overly experienced with going there. I'm sure that is to the Akashic Records. Mm-hmm. However, what I have noticed is that I was not able to ask the same question twice. Is there something I'm tapping incorrectly?
Okay, well, the one thing I would suggest, if you are going to be accessing the Akashic Records, one of the most important things is to keep records of what you've asked. It may have been that you may have been given the information. You may have needed maybe to take it into a meditation. I know who Shady D is, and this is why I'm suggesting this. I know a little bit about her practice and that she is able to understand what I'm sharing with her. But I would suggest this with anybody. When you're going into the records, go in with a specific purpose ahead of time. When you get a question, some of the words you do not want to, one of the words, as I was taught by my mentor, should, is a very negative, really not a really productive word to use into the records. So if you ask a question, one of the rules I've been taught is we don't ask for advice. Say you've got a friend. A friend is going through something really awful. Maybe you're feeling a little nosy about it. You want to know more about it. They're not going to give you information about what's going on with your friend. That is your friend's record. But how you could ask is, how could I best support so-and-so for their highest good and in love? And if they're not answering the question that you've asked, maybe try rewording it a little bit differently. Or you can even ask them. You can say, if I'm not getting an answer to this question, is there a way that I could word it differently? They're there to help. They're there to guide you. Or they may very well have given you the answer the first time you asked. You may need to take it into a meditation with yourself to look a little further deeper into the question. Plus, think about that. If somebody's asked you a question, even from a human perspective, and you've given them the answer, you could ask again, and somebody, if they have the patience or the tolerance or whatever it may be, may give you the answer, but you're not probably going to get a different answer than the answer they already gave you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep. And I see we only have 2.5 minutes left on the show here. I would love, when we get back from the break, I would love to get into the deeper things around us, our reality. You are in contact with, call it extra physical entities. Mm-hmm. And I would like to hear a little more about them. What do we think that maybe those we call shadow people, that is the one that we can see out of the corner of our eye, and when we look over there, they are gone. Yeah, this is going to get interesting because I think that we should allow things to happen. When you try to force these things to happen, it very often doesn't. Just slow the mind down and allow for things to happen. Because it's a giving universe. It is not one that is forced. It's a giving universe, and it is not just us in it. There are other entities that we may create in the physical, but they are also on the outside of the physical. So we have 1 minute to break here, or actually 30 seconds. So let's go to break now, and then we will come back and talk about more of the mysteries of the universe.
You're listening to the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly connection to the truth.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Share your knowledge by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Call now.
Worldwide callers find us on Skype at KCOR Radio. It's time to abandon your fear and question what you think you know.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
More awakening awaits.
After this, after this, after this, after this, after this, after this.
Immerse yourself in an epic journey through time, where ancient mysteries unfold within a story of love and betrayal, as well as a battle of good versus evil in The Emissary Book 1. The reader's favorite Gold Medal Award winner for Visionary Fiction 2019, The Action and Adventure of The Emissary continues in The Emerald Tablet, Book 2. The 2019's Bronze Medal Award winner, The Emissary and The Emerald Tablet by Tamara Veach and Rennie DeFazio are both available now on Amazon.com. Let your reading adventure begin.
Hello, KCOR listeners. Lorian Fenton here from the Fenton Files to tell you about UFOCon 2020 in San Francisco, February 20th through 23rd. A conference like no other, UFOCon is where experiencers are going to reveal new information and science and consciousness will collide. So get your tickets at UFOCon2020.com. That's UFOCon2020.com. Don't miss what will be the most talked about conference of the decade.
30 seconds and counting.
Broadcasting to you from another planet, beaming you a world of entertainment.
This is the world-famous KCOR. Now listen live online at KCORradio.com.
I like everything about this station.
When do I listen? Like 24 hours a day.
It's my favorite station. I just love the music. It keeps me going at work.
Monday nights are about to become hauntingly good, as Reverend Sean Whittington possesses the airwaves with Vegas Supernatural. Tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for Vegas Supernatural, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. There's a war raging between good and evil. The question is, which side are you fighting on? Tune in Monday nights as Reverend Sean Whittington sets the new standard for paranormal radio with some of the most influential personalities in the world today. Vegas Supernatural, hosted by Reverend Sean Whittington, every Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The one show even the devil doesn't want you to hear.
It's showtime!
Here we go, world.
You're listening to the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Broadcasting from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Their base is so large it has to draw most of its power from the nearby nuclear fusion plant.
The future of radio is here and now.
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
It's time, once again, to unravel the mysteries of the universe by connecting the dots to a higher consciousness. This is the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Now the world will begin hearing us.
Share your knowledge by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
It's as simple as that.
Find us on Twitter at KCOR Radio or use hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us on the live chat at KCORradio.com. Back to your enlightened hosts, Avi Nast and Diana Serafini.
Hello, and we are back with the Universal Consciousness Show, and we are talking with Lorelei Potvin. And before the break, we were talking about the Akashic Records. And we're going to move on to a little different subject, but I want to say something about the Akashic Records first. And that is that, like she said, everything past, present, and future is lodged in the Akashic Records. The past and the present is recorded as it is. The future is recorded as potentials for created reality. So the question is that sometimes come up, if it is everything past, present, and future is sitting in the Akashic Records, what's the point? If we go look at it, then we have all the experiences. Well, maybe it isn't that simple, because we have free will. Whatever we might see in the Akashic Records as it appearing to be reality, because of free will, we have the capability to change that. Because what we see in the future is only a potential for reality if we continue the same timeline with the same energies that we have here. So if we start a different timeline, we decide to do something totally different, and this is actually borderline cheating. Let's say you look at what's in the future and you get your answer for what that is. And maybe it is a little off to the side of what you would want, then you can make a different decision. You start a different timeline and you bypass that, what was in the future altogether. That is one reason why I think everybody out there should start thinking about this. Learn how to meditate. Learn how to go to the Akashic record and reevaluate your past and your present and have a look at the future. Chances are that you might be well or better educated about your reality. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, Lorelei.
Love it. I love it. I love it. I couldn't have said it better myself, Augie. That's fantastic.
All right. Yeah. And let's go a little deeper into the quantum and the mysteries of the universe. You know, there are many of us, I think absolutely everybody has seen things out of the corner of our eye. And when we look over there, it's not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that is, Lorelei?
Well, actually, Augie and I have had many conversations about this, and I will share this with you. I have shared my own personal story on Paranormal Survivor, Season 4, Episode 9. And this actually, shortly after I started the Angel Cards, I had a dream. And it was about almost 15 years ago. I still remember it like it was 20 minutes ago. Something very, very negative appeared to me. And just before that had happened, as I mentioned, I do make jewelry and I make pet accessories and things like that. Everywhere I had gone in my city, people did not want a commission to carry my business or anything like that. And I remember commenting to my husband at the time, this is just phenomenal. And we had just watched that movie, The Secret, that had come out. And he had said, well, maybe this is the universe and the secret. I said, well, that's beautiful. In that dream, this entity, for better or lack of a better word, mentioned, do you see how that little business of yours is going? And I can give you anything you'd want or like. All you have to do is agree to follow me. And even within that dream, I said absolutely not. It did give me its name. I have no idea why or what, but I ended up actually calling on Archangel Michael, and we have been through quite a bit of dark activity, and it exists. It doesn't belong here. It comes from the lower astral realms, as you and I have discussed before, Augie.
Yeah.
And it does exist. And usually how you will see it is out of the corner of your eye and then it's gone, or, it does happen. But some of the other things that can happen when we give this kind of attention to it, especially fear, anything low vibrational, fear, anger, sadness, depression, it's basically the way I explain it. It's its food. The way to counteract that is by raising your vibration. And if you're following that, you may have heard that from many people, raising your vibration. And the way I explain it is everything on this planet is energy, including your words, your thoughts, your emotions.
Yeah.
So when you're no longer a match, if you're focusing on things that make you laugh, make you have joy, make you, sometimes people need extra help from people like, say, myself to come in and, cleanse a house, but it's really up to the person. So, sometimes there's things that we don't even understand, but they do exist. And sometimes you got to move. It's all, I think, a really individual situation for whomever might be going through this. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's the answer you were looking for, Augie, or not, but it definitely does exist.
Well, I think it encompasses the answer that I was kind of looking for, because what you see out of the corner of the eye is not physical. It is something that is see, the reason you can see it first place, let me back up a little bit. Mm-hmm. The eye, the physical eye, when you look straight forward, it can see a certain distance up into the light spectrum. But the periphery of the retina in the back of your eye can see higher vibrations than the center of the eye can see.
And so light spectrums too.
Yeah, so the corner of the eye can see out of the physical But when you turn, then the center of the retina is looking at that spot where it was, and that can no longer see. So the reason there's more of this now, just about everybody out there talks about this, and that is that the veil is getting thinner because we are raising our vibration and we are getting into a region of we're able to see into a region of the light spectrum that we were not able to before. And that's where things will be revealed to us that we couldn't see before.
Well, the other thing I like to tell people too is, as depending on, what scientist or medical professional you speak to, on average, most people only use 10-15% of the actual potential of our brain. And I always say, just imagine the possibilities if you were raised with never being told that it wasn't possible. Things like telepathy, things like telekinesis. We're actually such a young race. And, I truly believe we are capable of so much more. Imagine if we'd never been told that it wasn't possible, which most of us are.
Yeah.
Imagine, because I think we have a lot more abilities that we've been told ever since a very, very young child that none of this is possible. And I believe that we're capable of so much more. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more in the coming years of what people are doing that seems to be miraculous.
Yeah, absolutely, because a lot more people will be able to tap into these abilities, and they may not have any knowledge that they even have them. Everybody has those abilities, but like you said, we have been told that that can't, that's not real, that doesn't work. Well, I know that some of these things work because I've done some of it, and in fact, when it comes to telekinesis, I have a first-hand experience of something that I have seen, and that is Nori Love has a spoon laying on her kitchen counter, and the spoon is rolled up into a ball.
Wow.
And that she bent with her mind.
I believe it.
Yeah, and in fact, I got pictures of it on my Facebook page, and I think she brought it out there too. So you can see that holding something in your hand and willing it to alter its shape with the mind is very possible. And that's, in fact, we just might be starting to do and teach some of those things in the mastermind group that we're starting out. We'll talk more about that later. But when you talk about what's behind the curtain here, what we see is the lower vibrations of the astral world is coming apparent first. But we can transcend that and start looking into the higher vibration by our will to do so.
The biggest thing, Augie, I was just going to say, the biggest thing that I have found is fear. And it's a fine line, but trusting and believing, and even my son, like I mentioned, that has autism, to be able to teach him that, anger, sadness, depression, living in those lower, you just don't feel good if you want with those emotions, but focusing on who you love. Say you saw something like that out of the corner of your eye and scared you. Focus on somebody you love. Put on a movie that makes you laugh. Even watching, listening to music that you love, something that brings up your emotions, how it makes you feel happy. As I said to my son, if you want to be really simplistic, that's like kryptonite to them. And it works.
Yeah, little kids, they are geniuses because they haven't been told that you can't do that yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they have photographic memory until they are taught out of using it. They're taught that it's okay to forget. Everybody does.
Or imagine, or play, and many children and babies. How many times have you seen a baby sitting there cooing at something that's not there and laughing and giggling? That's the other thing I wanted to share with your listeners is our loved ones never leave us. Ever, ever, ever. Who wouldn't want them here physically, but they are always with us. As soon as you think of them, they're with you.
Yep.
But we've not been taught that as a society to understand that we go on forever. It's our souls that go on.
Yeah, there is no such thing as death. There is only change. We walk into a different room. There are new rules there. So there is a little bit of learning to do because we have this amnesia. So
things really aren't solid. Things even aren't really solid. Or even when you were talking about going behind the curtain, think about even different regions of areas where something's been known to have a lower, you can, whether you want to talk about a Yeti, whether you want to talk about, I don't know why, the New Jersey Devil, if you will. It's people giving that kind of attention and, I believe, an energy to it that we can actually create. And I know you mentioned that in the first half of the show. We can actually create it with our thoughts and our words as a collective. Yeah. The mastermind again, if you will, something negative.
Yeah. Absolutely. We're going to have some fun with that, and I'll mention that in a bit. Now, when you are talking or communicating, not necessarily talking, because there are probably impressions and pictures and things. When is there something that you do specially when you talk with what most people would call angels?
Oh, yes. What it is, again, meditation is key. I call that my workspace. The other part is the way that you know the difference. When you get that close to something that full of love and vibration, and I'm not a crying type of person, it will bring absolute tears to your eyes. You will not, the feelings it'll bring through to you, the love, the pure joy. I'm not even giving, there's not a human word to describe it. And that's how you know the difference. You know the difference because of the way it just makes you feel. And there's practices as well. I do work with chakras and energy, and we have something called a grounding cord, so I connect with Gaia or Mother Earth, whatever you'd like to call that, as well as I connect through the top chakras and connect that way. And, people may think this just sort of sounds like new age stuff, but we do have these energy centers that aren't visible, but science is proving this. It does exist.
Yeah. And in order to tap into those higher worlds, we have to raise our vibration.
Yes.
And then the next question will be to the people out there that says, gee, how do I do that? Well, I do something, and that I do in meditation. And meditation can be done very quickly. When you get used to it, you can meditate for 2 minutes, and that's all I need. 20 seconds. It's all I need to bring the brainwave pattern down to about 7 in the bottom of the alpha range. And you get used to this, you can do it very quickly. I could meditate going down the street, walking down the street. It don't matter. But another thing that I do, I have a mantra that I use, and that is, I love you, I love you, I love you. In meditation, if you keep saying those words for a few minutes, that is going to raise your vibration tremendously in meditation.
Absolutely. Or like I said, when I tell people, everybody has somebody in their life pretty well that you love, whether it's a pet, whether they're here or they're not, maybe a parent, maybe a friend, somebody has somebody, or we know what love feels like. So that's one of the most powerful. I believe love is one of the most powerful emotions out there. I really do.
Yeah. And it seems to work every time. It's that particular phrase, I love you, has it's not just a word. You also have to raise your feeling. And you just mentioned something very key here, and that is that everybody has something or someone they love. And what I do, I visualize my mom, because everybody loves their mom. So I visualize my mom, and then I keep saying, I love you. And brings an emotional state into the mind that raises the vibration. It is more so done by emotion and visual images than by the words. The words aren't really that powerful, but what comes with it is what creates the raising of the vibration.
Mm-hmm.
I think also the vibration of the word "I love you." It's also changing the structure of our body because, as we all know, we are 77 to 80% water. And we know from the researchers from Masaru Emoto that the word "I love you" and some few other words, they restructure, they are changing the structure of the water. So in the same way, when you say "I love you, I love you, I love you," the structure of your body will change until to the DNA level. So this is a very, very good technique to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's very good to remember because we are mostly water. So we've all seen what this particular phrase and that energy of the thought of loving does to water. So when we are mostly water, it changes us, and that's exactly right.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And I got a quick question for you, Lorelei. Sure. If you could talk to the whole world, what would you tell them?
There's a lot I'd tell them, but I would tell them that the first thing is believe in yourself. You're not here by accident. You're here for a reason. And never give up on your thoughts. Never give up on your dreams. Even if you're going through something that seems like the most devastating thing you could possibly ever even fathom, there is always something to be learned from it. We never are able to see the whole picture. So sometimes when things that are really negative happen, it's being moved out of our way for something bigger, more important. You touched on the fact, Augie, that this is a giving universe. Yeah. We are here to succeed. We all have the free will to choose or not choose, but we're here, our soul, to learn lessons. We are here with a purpose. And you are never alone. You are loved, you are supported, and you will always have everything you need. You need to trust, you need to believe. And that's hard when, like, say, your rent bill's due or whatever it may be due. But trust. That's the main thing, and believe in yourself. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And the thing is that here we are going to school.
Absolutely.
We came here to learn and to grow spiritually and solve challenges, learn new things, have fun. So let's do all that. There is a saying out there, it's called "don't worry," because worrying is like praying for something you don't want.
Absolutely.
Because the subconscious mind is listening. And whenever you say something negative about yourself, the subconscious mind says, "Oh, wow, I didn't know that. I guess I'll be negative about that thing." So,
or the fact that if you say, for example, "I hate my job. I hate my job.
Oh.
I don't want to go to my job. I hate it." The subconscious, you don't want to go to your job. Well, guess what? You find a lot of people, they end up getting sick over and over and over. Well, subconscious just doing what you asked.
Yeah, conscious just listening. Okay. Hey, we're getting down towards the end here, so let people know again where they can reach you.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I do have two shows. I am actually on UPRN Talk Radio, which is out of New Orleans, 107.7. I have my show tonight, actually, The Angel Rock, and it is on from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can also find it on YouTube, on United Public Radio Network YouTube. I also advertise it on all my social media. I'm going to be having the wonderful Nori Love on this evening. I
Wonderful.
also do a second show on UPRN on Tuesday nights with my good friend Seraphine Hurley. We do Trip in the Void, same time, and we talk about all kinds of things, anything that's going on in life, and same as the Angel Rock as well. We talk about anything to do with the type of things you deal with. Sometimes it's a little bit paranormal, just depends what it'll be, but always with a positive, loving spin. You can find me also on Facebook under facebook.com, The Angel Rock. And again, as I'd mentioned earlier, I have 2 groups on Facebook as well called Paranormal University and The Angel Rock. And I'd love to connect with you and get to know you. And we put all kinds of educational things in those groups too. I also have a YouTube channel too, I should mention. Same thing, The Angel Rock. Pretty well everything to do with me is with The Angel Rock.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And I also mentioned earlier about a mastermind group. Let me take about 30 seconds to talk about that, because we are, Norilov and I is starting a mastermind group, because this is something that is going to be so powerful. And we already have seen some tremendous results from the mastermind. And remember, the mastermind is when 2 or more minds are united in harmony, they create a third mind that has the potential mind power of the 2 or more of them multiplied by each other. You get 1,000 people together, 1,000 times 1,000 is a power of 1,000,000 minds going in one direction to create something that is powerful. And we'd like for you to join us. Send us an email to the mastermindconnection@gmail.com and let us know you want to be part of this, and then we will send you some information back. All right. Thank you, Lorelei, for being with us here. This was wonderful.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I love the both of you. You're also good friends, and I really appreciate it. And yes, I will be having both of you on my show in the near future as well. So thank you.
All right. Yeah, we were talking about that. Diana needs to be on your show.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Okay, thank you much. And we will be back next week. And until then, be good to each other.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This has been the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly guide to a deeper understanding of the all that we are.
Well, in a few years, it will be a matter of common sense to very many people that they're one with the universe. It'll be so simple.
Live Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, hosts, or their guests, please visit universal-consciousness-show.com. That's universal-consciousness-show.com. Remember, there's a shift coming, a new earthly paradigm, a shift to universal consciousness.
Universal consciousness.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51. Wait, that doesn't